أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يا عباد الله ونفسي اتقوا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praises are to Allah alone, the creator of all things, and everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a creation. Everything from the throne on down is a creation that came into existence after non-existence, a creation that was caused to change by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All creation was caused to change from non-existence to existence. It changed from non-existence to existence by the power and will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose will is one eternal will. So change for us is necessary for our own existence. We had to change from non-existence to existence only by the power and at the time that Allah had determined for us to come into existence. Where change for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not befitting, for Allah is not in need of any of his creation. He existed before any of his creation was not needed any of his creation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change. Change does not affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing has an effect on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is Allah that has an effect on everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a necessary effect on everything, but nothing has an effect on Allah. Allah has all the attributes of perfection, and change for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be an attribute of imperfection. So Allah exists as he has always exists. Before he created the heavens and the earth, before he created the throne, he has always existed. And anything that he created did not bring a change to him. It didn't add any new qualities to him. All his qualities are perfect, and all his qualities are existing before time and in all other creation. So we bear witness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of all things, the creator of all things, the knower of all things, and that he has sent his messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his final messenger, to us out of mercy, with Islam being a religion of mercy, from him being the Lord of mercy, and his prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam being a prophet of mercy. And we have just recently come out the month of mercy, the month of Ramadaan, which is still fresh on our minds and on our hearts. And we hope that that impression is fresh and that we still have an attachment to it. He said his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with his Quran, which is his speech, his perfect speech, that does not change, that cannot be altered. That is a guidance and a healing for our hearts. That is a guidance and a healing for all mankind. That is the message that we are responsible to convey to mankind, what we know, and not to belittle what we know and what we sincerely practice on it. And the Prophet ﷺ was said by his wife, Aisha, radiyallahu anha, to be his character. When they were asked about his character, she said his character was the Quran. So we come from that month, from that blessed month. Allah has allowed us to have another day, another Jumu'ah, an opportunity to build from that month. We hope that we have had a seed planted in us. Of course, we know what the ayahs say, that we fast like those who were before us were ordered to fast, to obtain taqwa, to be able to fulfill the obligations and stay away from the prohibitions. Those are the people who have taqwa. You might say they fear Allah enough to stay away from the prohibitions and fulfill the obligations. And of course, one cannot do that without knowledge of what is the obligations and prohibitions. And that was an interesting point that one of my teachers had brought up. And this was a particular teacher that I had just, knew about, and his services were available for free, but I'm like, okay, I got enough on my workload already, I gotta learn. But these things in Ramadan, we want to increase our capacity and our workload, and that was one of the things that I was able to do. Okay, let me make the time for it. We make up time for other things, when we want to increase our money, when we in the gym, we want to increase our strength. We struggle. We might even look a little foolish sometimes and almost put too much on without a spot or something like that and put ourselves in danger, in harm. But Ramadan calls us to struggle to take more of our workload that we can handle to build our heart muscle, which is our strongest muscle, When you talk about somebody, one of my teachers talked about people, they can do a lot of weights, but in the morning they can't lift the sheets off the bed for Fajr, That's comes from the heart muscle, when it's cold or something, like even if you're not going to leave the house when it's cold, you don't want to get out your warm bed, but it's something in your heart makes it easy for you. And that's the mercy from Allah, a gift from Allah from us, And hopefully we had that gift of that seed in Ramadan, We should, of course we should. If we're honest, we're not going to claim that, yeah, I got the taqwa, No, we're gonna look at ourselves as we the last one of the Muslims, that we got to work for it. But we have a hope that we got a seed that was planted, that we can water it, that we can take care of that seed, that we can nurture the seed, that we can plant it more securely, if it wasn't planted securely, and take all those stages and steps to be able to work towards getting taqwa, working towards fulfilling the obligations, stay away from the prohibitions. And importantly, like the teacher said, people, they don't think about, okay, if you want that, what you need to be successful, to make it to paradise, to avoid the hellfire, to avoid the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you need to know what are those obligations, what are those obligations, what are those prohibitions, And a lot of people don't think about that, Just think, oh, I want to do it, but don't think about there's a certain route, certain method, certain tried and tested method. Going all the way back to the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for every generation, the way that people obtained taqwa was a certain way, a certain method. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he taught his companions, radiyallahu anhum, and they taught those after them, rahimahullah, for so on and so on and so on and so on. And different things, the times change, different ways of accessing the information and knowledge change, but the basic same message. And it was a certain same method as far as you got to learn. And in that learning, there's so many benefits in learning the right way that will make it easier for us to do some things that we might seem as difficult and taking this path to taqwa. But when we learn certain rulings and we learn them the right way, it's if our intentions are right, it's going to make it easier for us than what it was to try to, to stay away from certain things. And that's going to that's going to build that heart muscle. That's going to build that discipline, because we're going to find ourselves, especially in this society where it's all about desires, where we are as Black Muslims left out of so many things, I'm just thinking, you might think of a small thing, but it's really a big thing. Like the other couple weeks ago, it was during Ramadan where, and I don't know if I mentioned it, because I don't know if it was before the last time I gave the khutbah, when I gave the khutbah in Ramadan, but I came across that halal meat store, and the significance of, I'm like, okay, we got halal meat stores, but the significance of that was a certain type of slaughter, that is for sure, accepted method, and that's the hand slaughter, the actual person is reciting the Bismillah over, he's a Muslim, or we're permitted to eat the food of the Jews and the Christians that slaughter under certain conditions, and every ruling has a condition. That's the one thing that we don't think about. We apply it like when we want to take heed, we apply, okay, salat, yeah, salat is valid, but salat has conditions for it to be valid. Just like everything else has conditions for it to be valid, With our eating, it has conditions. So with the slaughter, it has conditions for it to be valid, And those conditions are fulfilled, and it won't be valid. But this is the most certain, proven, method that's accepted, without doubt, where other methods, it's questions, where scholars will say that that the mechanical slaughter, where it's the machine and it's just somebody trying to say Bismillah over 1,000 chickens, is not, you mean. And you know what I mean? So if you it's better to be safe, you know what I mean, unless you're going to go research, and which is beyond your capacity anyway. But this particular meat store, where I didn't think it was in town, and I would go to Cleveland with my mother, or when I go to see one of my teachers in Pittsburgh, I would try to bring back that hand slaughtered chicken, or I just wouldn't eat chicken, you know. So, but this meat store happened to be, what I find out, in a location that I often pass because I used to live in that area. And right, no kidding, is a plaza across the street. Matter of fact, is a Home Depot on the opposite side. I would go to the Home Depot, or I would go up the street to the what's the other store? Target. Is a Target. And I would pass by there, but I didn't never look on that other side of the street where that plaza was. But that store had been there for how many years? I don't know. You mean? But that's the example of stuff that is not told to us. You mean? So it seems like something small, but it's not something small. And there are so many other things, you mean, that are kept away from us. So in this time, in our time, in our environment, where so many things are kept away from us, and when we do find out things that we know, often we are stepping out almost alone on it, you know, and the reward of doing something which is harder, or there's more hardships around it, is more reward for it than doing something that's easy. So if you're doing something that is not really commonplace, but you believe, you strongly believe it's the right thing to do, and you fear Allah, you're trying to have the taqwa on it, it's going to be more reward because nobody else is doing it. Don't worry, brother. It's okay. Don't worry about this. And it might be people you have to wonder who's looking out for your interests. You mean, because when I was in Pittsburgh and I was looking for it, in that particular meat store, they have a restaurant. And I'm assuming it was the owner. He had the vibe of the owner, you mean. I was like, I wanted the chicken, but I wanted the hand slaughtered chicken. He comes out like, okay, he's being customer friendly. He's taking responsibility, but he's like, but he tries to engage me into a sort of, not so like debate, but he's trying to encourage me. It's okay, we over here, in the land, this is non-Muslims, so it's okay. So he's giving me his reason why he thinks I should eat it, and why he feels okay selling it, But if you think about it, okay, it's about the money for him. Because it's cheaper to get that chicken like that. It's cheaper to get the mechanically slaughtered chicken, to get the hand slaughtered chicken, It's cheaper to produce, So I'm not saying like, okay, but you the way you coming to me about this, you're not really convincing me, because I know you're making money off of this, And I know, but you calculate your costs for everything, But alhamdulillah, the deep thing about it was, a couple months later, I found out, from my teacher, that they switched to all hand slaughtered chicken. Yeah. So you never know what more you might play in standing firm on your principles, whatever you believe. If you have the right intentions, and you have went about the proper routes to obtain the knowledge. And so we have to appreciate the progress that we made in Ramadan. Don't belittle it. It's a precious gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we need in order to protect ourselves from the fire, to earn Allah's pleasure, to earn His Jannah, which we are striving for, which we all know that we are constantly falling short of. We have to assess our situation, but Ramadan gave us a chance to have that boost, and we want to take it with us. We want to take Ramadan with us. And one of the ways that we can take it with us is this. There was another teacher I listened to. He was talking about the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, may Allah be pleased with all of them, that for 6 months after Ramadan, they will be making dua for the acceptance of Ramadan, for the Ramadan to be accepted. This is the Sahaba. We know their virtue, the best generation. The best generation ever. The best generation. You know, we know their rank, their status, you mean, but they praying 6 months, dua, you mean. And their duas are not like our duas, you know, much more pure, better time. They're night standing hours and, you know, in prayer, you know what I mean? When they're making their duas, they're thinking about us, they're thinking about their brothers, you know. So 6 months making dua for their Ramadan to be accepted. And I was thinking like, dang, I couldn't really gather my thoughts on it. And I was thinking like, that's what we need to do, you know. And that'd be a way that we can also take Ramadan with us, you know, even if we can't put into practice some of the things that we learned, that we progressed on, you know, because there's certain things that, you know, what we were able to do this past Ramadan that we weren't able to do before. But we can take it with us, even if it's the means of us making dua that our ibadah was accepted, you mean, and being specific about the different things that we were able to do that they were accepted, you mean. And that way we can take it with us. And then that also can motivate us to put that into practice and actually take it with us, you mean. Because that's what we want. That's what we want to do. We don't want to be mourning over the Ramadan and, you know, I'm sad it's gone. No, we're supposed to be happy that we got the opportunity to build off of it. You mean, to actually transform, you know, our lives. I mean, we're supposed to be happy that we had the opportunity. So you can be sad in a sense, but we should be overcome more so by the hope that we have. I mean, the hope should be stronger, that we can benefit from it. That is not just that Ramadan is just not for that month for us to benefit, but for all year long to benefit. Because after that 6 months, and then they were doing 6 months preparing for the next Ramadan. So this Ramadan has another purpose, you mean, to serve us to be able to prepare to ride on that ship, you know, through these murky waters that we in, to prepare for the next Ramadan. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Ya ibadallah wa nafsi taqwallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, wa ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa. And that's from Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 2, which is a longer ayah. But within that ayah, it says, which is translated as, and cooperate in righteousness and taqwa. We talk about cooperation, you mean. It's a big term, you mean, especially in some of our social media discussions, you know, with men and women, you mean. Want that cooperation and, you know, like certain words, especially when people want to avoid certain words, you know, like, don't want to use this word, submission, or use cooperation. You know? But we want to cooperate, you know what I mean, in general, you mean, with each other, in helping each other get taqwa, you mean. If somebody, the Prophet ﷺ says in Hadith, you know, that if somebody indicates to a good deed, they get the reward of that, you mean. They invite to a good deed, they get the reward. Numerous Hadiths telling us, you mean, we help and assisting our brother or sister, you mean, in doing good and fulfilling their obligations and staying away from prohibitions and avoiding harm, that we get the reward for that without diminishing their reward. So we have a duty to help each other, to support each other. That's how the Sahaba were, that solid structure there, that reinforce each other, you mean. You know, how they were in prayer, that's how they were outside of prayer. They were together, their hearts were united in prayer, you mean. And one of the things I'm proud of and I hope that we can continue, and was a real joy for me, to be specific, was when our brother, you know, established Salat just about every day, Maghrib and Isha, he was there. I was able to make it for Maghrib a lot of days with them. I was hoping, like, for us to take that, because we want to take it forward, you mean, continue it. And alhamdulillah, he made the decision to keep it going a couple of days a week, you mean, to have that Salat in the masjid, you know. And that does so much for us, you mean. Benefits us in our own personal lives and our own journey to getting taqwa, you mean, to take care of that seed, you mean. There's a lot of this at the masjid, you mean. And it does something to the hearts, you mean. It unites the hearts, you know what I mean. one of my teachers was emphasizing, you mean, like, we never know where that blessing is. If you in a congregational salat, that mercy, the gaze of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends down, and whoever the imam, if the imam is not the most righteous person in the room, it goes to somebody else, and it becomes a source of benefit in the whole congregation. You mean? And that's one thing too. Like, we don't want to, even if we're struggling on that, don't think that if you aren't doing a thing that you can't encourage others to do it. That's a trick of a shaitan too. Well, I'm not doing this, so I can't abide. No, do it. Get that reward. You mean, get that reward, and then maybe eventually Allah will allow you to do that. But at least you got that reward. You never know what will come out of that by you be able to benefit somebody with encouraging somebody. You mean, to do that. So I hope that we let others know about that we are making salah here some days. Come join us, and what that does to the neighborhood too. That they're not just used to seeing us on a special day. When it's something about when something becomes habitual. When somebody's can see any given day can see you, and it does something also to the hearts of those who are not in here, who are not Muslim. We never know what big effect can have on us and on them. And also, with the brothers iftar, I thought that was a big thing. I remember we were out of town for something. Matter of fact, I was out of town for a funeral of a first cousin, and a brother, that was benefiting by the brothers iftars who, not able to make it to Jumu'ah, and who knows how often he's able to get to the masjid in general. But he was like, I want to leave in the time because I really want to go get back, because this is going to be the last brothers iftar of Ramadan. He really wanted to get back for it. So just think about that. So I think that's something that we should try to continue. That becomes a means of strengthening each other, of building each other. Of cooperating with each other in righteousness and goodness and taqwa. You never know how often that person is even able to be in the mosque, let alone pray in that congregation. Where there's so much reward, so many blessings, so many opportunities for us. So I think that's something that we should, even if it was once a month. And a lot of good can come out of that, especially when we talk about trying to build and trying to connect, with others. Those are big things. So different things that people have done. What we've done in our lives. Try to find ways we can continue it. Try to find ways where we continue it. But I was really just the drive was something different. Because I go to different masjids. For a daily prayer, but it's just not the same for some reason. Just a whole different feeling. Just come and I'm taking the whole experience. Really, I'm looking at the grass, the trees. I'm looking at everything. I'm just soaking everything in. Just a certain feeling in my heart. Of joy, of pleasure. Coming here. On those days where I normally wouldn't be coming here. So I really dig that. Really appreciate it. Really love that. And I hope that we can continue that, and we can be strategic about it, or somebody else, where they can't make it at that time, but maybe another day where they can come and establish a salat. We all have a part to play. We all have an opportunity to get different rewards unique to us. Obviously we have different schedules in here, and trying to, to keep our Islam intact while still trying to navigate through this world, in this environment, So it's a unique opportunity. One of the last things I wanted to mention was the moon. So, and I had the opportunity, and that story, I will share that because last Ramadan, when we're going to look for the moon for the Eid, I had went out, but I saw, didn't see anything with the first after sunset, and I went to pray. I didn't have, I don't know. I went to go pray. I was an inexperienced moonsighter. So I talked to one of my teachers afterwards, you know, he was like, well, you can need to, I suggest you to bring a prayer rug. Pray and then wait 20, 30 minutes, you mean. He told me that, you know what I mean? But at that point, after not seeing it, I was already feeling like I had the burden. I was actually treating myself like I had the burden of the whole city on me, and I had let the city down. So, you mean, this sometimes that negative self-talk is subconscious, or they say unconscious, where you're not even realizing it. But it definitely had its effect where I didn't go out at all until this next Ramadan at the end, looking for the moon for Eid. Because of that, you know. But I remember what he said, you know. So I brought my rug with me this time. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay 20, 30 minutes, you know. So I made my grip, you know what I mean? When I was making it, you mean, like the wind was blowing, I thought something was, like an animal was coming up, you know what I mean? So Shaitan trying to get me, you know what I mean? So, but, you know, okay, I'm ready. 20, 30 minutes, nothing, you know. Underneath the light pole, the power line, I see something like, my first instinct is like, that's what I think it is. But you know what, you still got those doubts and stuff, you know, you still got, oh, no, that ain't it, that's something else, you know. It's like, man, I'm gonna get out the car, you know, because I was still in the car. I got out the car, like, so my instinct, it was clear as day still. So I come closer, then the look is just there. Wow, I'm seeing it, you know. Still like, oh, well, you want to be more sure before you tell anybody. So I'm looking more. I can see the whole outline of the moon, you know. Like, wow, subhanAllah. Then it was just like such an awe, you mean. It was such a heavy experience, you mean. It was too much of an awe-inspiring experience for me to be joyous, you mean. It was so heavy on me, you know what I mean. I'm like, wow, this is a deep sign, you mean. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has different meanings, you mean. If I ponder and reflect on it, you know. So then that's when I shared to the teacher first, I still, you know, I wanted to get extra confidence still, even after seeing the outline of the moon. So he shared it, you know, he shared my post immediately. So I only shared it after he shared it, you mean. I only shared it after he shared it, you mean. So then that's when I shared it, you know, and I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, now this ain't as bad as I thought. I can go out and do it again, you know. But there's going to be stuff like that in our lives, you know, where we get discouraged, you mean, where we doubt ourselves, you know, when we shouldn't be doubting ourselves, you know. So we want to come out, hopefully with some stuff in Ramadan that we saw that we might have doubted ourselves about, but we have the time to build on before Shaitan really gets in there and causes that doubt to overtake us, you know. Like, oh, no, you can't do that, or you won't do that. But remember, last time I said, you know, if we, one pious intention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open 70 doors of tawfiq for one pious intention, you mean, one sincere intention, that Allah will open 70 doors of tawfiq, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating us the ability to do good. Because anytime we do good, it's because Allah created in us the ability to do good for that action. And each action is a different creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you mean. So each good deed is its own creation that Allah created in us and gave us the ability to do good, as we can't do good on our own. So we make that one sincere intention, Allah will do that for us. And what's that is beyond our imagination, you mean. You know, some beyond our wildest dreams, you mean, what could happen for us, you know. But this is the time to do that, you mean, before Shaitan plays that game, our nafs, that back and forth game, you mean, you know, and dances all around us and slow dances us into being overcome by those doubts and just putting it on the shelf, you know. So may Allah guide us to that. May Allah allow us to benefit from this Ramadan and carry it forward, you know, and take care of that seed, nourish that seed, and use this Ramadan to prepare us for the next Ramadan. Allow us to see the next Ramadan in a good state. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم Assalamu alaikum.